If you're a local business and you want to scale your business using a podcast, this episode is for you. Stay tuned. This is the Podcast in the Rough. Tune in every Friday for new adventurous episodes. Welcome back to another exciting episode of the Podcast in the Rough. I'm your host, Zebulon Thomas, and this is episode 141. Today's episode is packed with invaluable insights for all you small local businesses out there looking to make a big impact on a small budget. Let's jump right into the world of podcasting within your business, how to set it up, what to talk about, and most importantly, how to build a fast, dedicated following. All right, let's kick things off with the big question on everyone's mind. Why should your small business venture into podcasting? Well, the answer is quite simple. It's a fantastic way to connect with your community, showcase your experience, and most importantly, attract new customers. So let's get started with a step-by-step setup for how to get started with your podcast inside your business. When you're working with a tight budget, simplicity is key. Choose a catchy and relevant name for your podcast, something that reflects your business and is easy to remember, nothing too complicated. Now, equipment doesn't have to break the bank. In fact, there's a decent amount of free tools and software out there that you can use, but there's also affordable equipment. And I've talked about this in previous episodes on what mics you can use, and I've done all the homework for you, so I've hopefully cut that down to get the job done. Definitely go back and check that out. But I want you to remember that content is king, and it doesn't matter as much about the quality at the beginning. You can always advance and grow, and I always talk about that in my previous episodes as well. When you start a podcast, you want to take the community that you're building, the followers, the listeners, your customers, on this adventure of evolving and growing out this podcast. So definitely do that. Now, once you set up your podcast and you're ready to get going, let's talk about strategies that you can start to apply at that point. Building out a fast following requires consistency and value. Planning your episodes ahead of time and ensuring that they're relevant to your business and providing genuine value to your listeners is key. If you're a local bakery, talk about the art of baking, share recipes, and maybe even feature a local guest who loves your pastries. The ideas that you can create for podcasting within your business are endless, and it gives you that long-form conversation about your products and services that you normally couldn't do with a one-on-one with a customer or when they're coming in and out of your business, or even on social media. Gaining traction on a small budget is all about smart promotions. Leveraging your existing social media channels and collaborating with other local businesses is very important. Cross promotion is also a powerful tool, and I encourage you to plan that out and see what that looks like for you and your business and your podcast. Also with podcasting, you can encourage customers to leave reviews and share your episodes, just like you do already when they come in the door and you say, hey, please leave us a review if you like our services. But now you have a bigger reach and more things to talk about and more things for them to review. So it really can bring you more to the top, and it's very exciting. So don't forget to do that. And don't forget to use relevant hashtags to expand your reach to really give you that push you need on social media. Now let's address topics. What on earth should you talk about on your podcast? The key is finding a balance between showcasing your business and providing valuable content. Share success stories, discuss local events, and offer exclusive promotions to your podcast listeners. Make it engaging, informative, and most importantly, entertaining. I've found over the years of doing many, many podcasts for a lot of people, I found that, yes, people that listen to podcasts are more open to ads. But when you throw an ad that is not relative to what you're talking about or your products or services or something you believe in, if you will, that you haven't led up to, it really throws them off. So I highly recommend, and I've seen a lot of success with creating your own ads inside your podcast. And I have covered this in a previous episode. So if you'd like access to that, just reach out to me under this comment or DM me on social media, and I'll send you a link to that episode. So consider spending some time in creating your own commercial ad in an audio format and putting it inside your podcast, and maybe only make it 10, 15 seconds long. Something that speaks true to your customers and your potential customers, and also lets the listeners know, hey, if you'd like to support us, simply subscribe to this podcast, share it, and then come pay us a visit. All right, let's talk about how to promote your business effectively within your podcast. Integrating your business into content seamlessly is crucial. Consider featuring special discounts or promotions exclusively for your podcast listeners. It's a great way to convert those listeners into real tangible results for your business. To sum it all up, podcasting on a budget is not only possible, but highly effective for small local businesses. Keep it simple, focus on valuable content, and leverage every promotional avenue available to you. With dedication and a little bit of creativity, you'll see your business grow and thrive. And for all you local small business owners who are afraid to jump into podcasting because you're afraid to put on another hat, I get it, but I make it very simple and easy when you're inside my group. So I highly encourage you, even if you're not going to be the one wearing the hat, send one of your team members, send someone that you've brought in to actually help you build out your podcast and get them inside the group so they can learn directly from me and all my community members, and we can help you make the best of your podcast. So definitely jump into my podcast community mastermind, and I'm going to play an ad right now that promotes my podcast community mastermind group to give you an idea of what your ads might look like inside of your podcast. Okay, once again, if you would like to join me inside the Podcast Community Mastermind Facebook group, it is absolutely free. All you have to do is go to thepodcastintherough.com/learn. That is thepodcastintherough.com/learn, and get inside the group and learn how to podcast from start to success. Well, that wraps up another episode of the Podcast in the Rough. I want to thank you for tuning in. And remember, podcasting might just be the secret ingredient your small business needs to scale to new heights. And I really hope that you take on this new year, 2024. We're right in the very forefront of this year still. Get a podcast going, tackle it, and by midsummer, you should start to be seeing some results. And then by the end of the year, you're going to see that you're going to have so much more opportunity to take on those holidays and take advantage of all the opportunities to really increase more value and more growth inside your business by using a podcast. And remember, it doesn't have to break the bank. All right, if you're enjoying this podcast episode, I would love for you to give me a rating and review about this podcast by heading over to thepodcastintherough.com and scrolling to the bottom of the page and leaving us a review. Or if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please leave a star rating and a review. It would help us reach more people and get them to learn about the Podcast in the Rough. Thank you so much for your support. I appreciate it. I also want to say to all of you that are inside my podcast community mastermind group, I've seen an overwhelming amount of new members, and I love it. I'm excited about it. So welcome to all of you new members. I hope you're tuning in to each episode so you get the most value. And the one thing I want to say, because the algorithms on Facebook and Instagram, they're very challenging. They're changing a lot, and they also limit the reach that all of us have. So I want to remind you that if you're inside my podcast community mastermind group or any one of my groups, or if you see my stuff on YouTube or you're part of this on Instagram or wherever that is, anything outside of the podcast world like Apple Podcasts and Spotify, please make sure that you check in regularly, at least once or twice a week, to the group, to my Instagram, so you don't miss any of the content that I'm pumping out. Because I have noticed that a lot of you don't see this until a couple days later, and it's not because you just got to it, it's because you really didn't see it. And I have to keep pumping it out there and keep creating comments just to get the algorithm to push it to you. So to make this easier so you get the most value out of your content, just check in. And same thing with the content creators that I follow and enjoy and I learn from. I make sure that I check in regularly to their content because I know the algorithm also is not showing me all of their stuff. So make sure that you check into anybody that you're really interested in learning from or that you enjoy and get entertainment from. Check in because you might be missing a whole bunch of their content because the algorithm really stinks right now. So until they figure that thing out, because it's just overloaded, we've broke it basically. When the new stuff happens, it's going to be a lot easier. And that's why I love podcasting too, because the podcast algorithm is a lot different and it hasn't been messed up yet. And so that's also another great time to jump in to this platform, into podcasting, because you have the ability to reach people like it was a few years ago before social media really starts to take a turn for the worse. We got to grow. We got to learn these things, but make sure you check in regularly. Other than that, I want to thank all of you for tuning into this episode today. Please leave me a star rating and review. Head over to the website. Check it out. I'll see you this next week. podcast in the rough.